It's a 3 coffee kind of day. Hi, today we're not going for a ride. Today we're going to sit down for an interview. We're going to talk with Mara Fineshriber, a marketing manager and social media director. She's forgotten more about how YouTube works than I will ever know. We're going to get a lot of insight in how the algorithm works, how we all can optimize our channels while not losing our identity. We're going to talk about thumbnails, titles, clickbait, Google trends and analytics. We're going to talk about how we can get the word out for our channels. We're going to talk about collaborations. I hope it's going to be interesting for you guys. A massive shout out to everybody who is part of the, for me, newly found community here on YouTube. Mountain bike channels near and far. Coffee. All right, that's all we really need for a sign on. Thank you. Hi, we're not going for a ride today. We are actually having a little bit of a question and answer session with this wonderful person here. We have Mara Fineshriber here. She is the mother and channel manager, I guess, of the very successful indeed Ethan Fineshriber channels, plural here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm a mother of 2 and the mother also of the neighbor on black bikes. And probably my number one passion is being a mother to these 2 amazing kids. I come from a long line of artists, and I myself came up through the ranks as an artist, graphic designer, and then art director, and then a creative director, and then started asking questions about how some of the art campaigns we were doing were working, and I wasn't getting satisfactory answers, and started to become very much involved with the marketing end of things and really loving the analytics and the science behind what motivates people to act. That got me into marketing and learning offline media, online media, and eventually kind of stumbled into social media marketing and YouTube because my son also wanted to sort of get involved in it, and it was a really good way for me as a marketing person to learn more about that part of marketing.
So here's the most boring of all interview questions ever. Obviously, you knew a lot going into this from a marketing perspective, but what are the things that you wish you had known YouTube specific when you started?
Boy, that's a great question, because while I did know a lot about the ABCs of marketing, the online arm of marketing is just ever changing very quickly, and YouTube is no exception. It's an algorithm that is constantly learning and adjusting, both on its own and manually from Google themselves, and trying to understand the nuances of that algorithm to appeal to it. It is quite the challenge. So some of the things that I've both been told and have learned along the way that would have been very helpful. Probably number 1 is subscriber count means nothing. If the subscriber, you can get subscribers from views, but it's very hard to get views from subscribers.
That's interesting.
Yes, if you have a very successful video that gets a lot of views and a lot of watch time, you naturally will get subscribers out of it. But subscribers don't necessarily. There's a core group for sure that when they subscribe and they hit that notifications bell and they get that email, they'll go right to your channel. But the more successful channels are the ones who the vast percentage of the views are coming from people who haven't subscribed, because the algorithm is trying to find the widest range of people who would really like that content and suggest it to them. And if it does, and they click on it and then watch it, that's considered a huge weight in the algorithm and huge success, and they'll continue to push it out to more. So it's a bragging rights thing. It feels good to be able to say, I got 1 million subscribers, I've got 5,000 subscribers or whatever. But those YouTubers that are most successful are concentrating very hard on the quality of their content because they know that will get views. So quality content, and then also that sort of art of understanding how you can take what that content is about and then in a split second be able to put a headline and a thumbnail together that somewhat communicate what that video is about in an interesting way to the right audience that makes them go, oh, I want to click on that. That's really a hard thing to do. There's a real art to that. Those are two things that are just super, super important in YouTube. So I would say those, just learning how important those things are has been very valuable. I also think that for those people who want to get into YouTube, if you're trying to get into YouTube just to make money, it's sort of a recipe for quitting quickly. You have to love what you do. You have to have a passion for it, because YouTube rewards consistent and frequent uploads that get consistent and frequent views. And you can't get learning without doing that consistently. And then again, the algorithm, when they know there's a lot of content, a lot of views, a lot of watch time, it gets more weight, gets sent out to more people. And so, if you're just hoping to be able to put that phone up and say a few things and stick it up on YouTube, and the throngs will come and go like, wow, that's a really interesting sentence. It just doesn't work that way.
Right.
So you gotta love it.
Please do repeat your broken record that you've been thankfully given me over the last year, over and over again, to our lovely viewers, hopefully in great count. Let's talk about thumbnails.
That's one that I think everybody knows. Thumbnails are, theoretically, thumbnails are important. Yes, of course. But there's nothing like really seeing for yourself how powerful a thumbnail, an effective thumbnail can be. And I'll give you some examples. And it's a combination of testing thumbnail with headline, because they work so well in conjunction together. People probably first look at the thumbnail and then immediately look at the headline to see if, what that's about, what's that thumbnail about, and then if there's an intrigue, click. I have had videos, I've had this happen multiple times, where a video didn't do well or a video did okay. And you got an idea for changing out the thumbnail, or it just wasn't getting views anymore, and I happened to look at what YouTube suggested. And oftentimes what YouTube suggests as a thumbnail isn't the ideal, but there are times when it gives you some thoughts and ideas like, okay, this is science, right? They do this for a reason. And I'll switch it out, either something similar to what their suggestion is, do exactly their suggestion, or I'll do some research on the subject in YouTube to see what thumbnails have been working well for other people. And I'll make a switch and a change. And that video that was could be a year old, I've had it happen even a year or more old, I'll switch out that thumbnail, and where it was getting 10 views an hour, all of a sudden I've had one go to 15,000 views an hour. 10 to 15,000 views an hour, because of just a thumbnail change. That's the sort of thing, and it's happened more than once. That's the extreme case, but where I had a video that was basically dead. It was doing well at one point, so I knew the content was good, the quality is, but it had run its course, and it wasn't being suggested, it wasn't being clicked in anymore. Where I'll make a thumbnail change, and you need to give it some time for the algorithm to kind of put it out there again, but where it has not doubled, but like 10, 20, 100 time fold getting more views, because that thumbnail was more effective, and all of a sudden became one of my better performing videos, even though it was an older one.
Is it safe to say that since people look at the thumbnail first and then look at the headline, that the thumbnail is kind of the question and the headline would be the answer?
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to think of it. I think that's a really smart thing that he just said. I never really quite put it in those terms, but I think that's a pretty smart way to think of it. It's you tickle somebody at first, and there's the question mark, and then is it what I think it is? And then either they're like, that's even more intriguing, I want to click that, or yes, it's what I think it is, and I want to do that, or no, it's not what I think it is.
Thumbnail production, we're not afraid of posing and creating and producing thumbnails, because obviously, as you are painfully aware, for the longest time at Black Bikes, the thumbnail was a bit of an afterthought.
Learning how important thumbnails are in getting views, I try very hard to craft a thumbnail and thinking about that as we're producing the video. In fact, I actually had a really good idea for what I knew would be a really successful thumbnail, and then came up with the idea for the video around the thumbnail. I wouldn't encourage people to do that generally, but they're that important. You have thinking about the thumbnail in the grand scheme of getting views and getting watch time is really important. Crafting it. So that brings me to something that everybody's probably heard the word clickbait. So clickbait truly is if somebody puts a headline and a thumbnail up that's super dramatic and interesting, and they click it, and then that video has nothing to do with. YouTube has within their algorithm some safeguards in place to help try and keep people from doing that. And one of those is if people bounce at a very high rate very quickly off of clicking on something, they'll suppress that video very quickly because it's very obvious that people it's not what they thought it was going to be. So you are not rewarded for clickbait anymore. In fact, you're kind of sent into a purgatory for doing that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I did not know that. So
there is something to say about sensationalism. And YouTube, I would say, as much as people really don't want that, they want, the honest everything, YouTube absolutely rewards for sensationalism. Because if the video is clearly something that has to do with the headline and the thumbnail, people oftentimes will wait it out and try and see when they get the win out of it. What happened? What is that? And sometimes they're super disappointed, like, oh, that's not what I thought. But they still watch the whole, video. So there's that art form and that desire from most successful YouTubers to figure out how far they can push that envelope so that it's still relevant to what the video is and people will watch it and it's kind of what they're thinking it is, but it doesn't end up being exactly what they thought, how it was going to play out. So there's always that sort of play there and trying to get people interested. I mean, you think about it. What are you going to click on? What are you going to click on when you're reading stuff? Depending upon what you're looking for. If you're looking for entertainment versus education obviously something super just straightforward is much better. But if it's an entertainment-based thing, and family vlogs are a great example, you'll see instead of them saying, Wednesday at my house, it might say something like, her cold got worse. Thought about going to the hospital. I mean, that's a really long one, but it's this little teeny part, and people will click on it to see, did she have to go to the hospital? Oh, she got sick, and what happened? And it may be literally 30 seconds out of a full 10-minute video, but it was this one little part, and it was enough that somebody could make it. It's that kind of envelope pushing. So,
and not just the algorithm will punish you for that. It's also, at least that's what I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I find myself, when I click on clickbait and then the video doesn't deliver, to even go as far as tell YouTube to not show me that channel anymore, to push it in the background. Is that a thing that people do, or I'm just weird?
100%. So unsubscribing or blocking is a viewer's way of communicating to a creator. I'm not happy and I don't like the way you're creating content. And you hope that the creator is watching those things and paying attention and then adjusting. I mean, as a creator, I'm constantly looking at our analytics and constantly looking at our competition to try and understand how we can be of more value. And what's interesting is for the vast majority of videos, again, remember, if you're being successful, most of your views are not coming from those who have subscribed.
That's so mind-boggling.
So one of the things but it goes out to your subscribers first. So if you're doing things that aren't making your core people who are being notified, like, hey, video just went up, the first thing you see when you upload that video is this just mass exodus of all of these unsubscribes. Now, they may come back because if it's getting views and they're still, YouTube's still suggesting it, you might get new subscribers from that because it's still being suggested to people who aren't subscribers of yours. But that, when I go through my video, how many subscribers came from that video, there's plenty of them that have a negative by that.
Oh, the gods of the algorithm.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh my God. little bit of a change of a topic, but it's all the same, obviously. Sure. In the end, YouTube considers itself and is used as a social network. So it is.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it became from my day at the zoo, just a video dump homepage, to like this community. I had in the beginning, when I started out, I was under the impression there's probably like 10 mountain bike channels out there. And this is not 2004, this is like 2 years ago. Was obviously completely wrong. It's just not for the lack of trying. I could not find any mountain bike content or even bicycling content beyond the usual suspects, beyond the 5 or 6 or 10 maybe channels out there that are, and you all know who they are, that are dominant on. So it took me having many subscribers and doing this for nearly a year until I finally found a community and people who I could talk to, and people who would actually answer to my comments. And that would get, not just because I'm getting engagement, of course that's what you're getting too, but I just enjoy talking to like-minded people. That's really what I'm doing, is like I'm having a blast. Thank you guys, by the way.
Should be also very, very thankful you have comments, because if you're in the kid space, you don't, and it can't be a social network.
Yes, there is that. So why do you think, did I just not search for the right things, or is YouTube like actively suppressing channels with 35 subscribers, or is, because they have all the keywords, they have all the tags, I'm searching for that exact thing. I'm searching for mountain biking in Tucson, Arizona, or on that specific trail, and I get the 5 big ones, and I can scroll as far down as I want, and it gets like less and less relevant to my search term, but I don't find the small channels.
So that's a great question, and I'm going to give you my interpretation of the answer, but this is
for sure.
Yes, exactly. So YouTube is a money-making machine. It's a privately owned. Well, I shouldn't. I guess Google is publicly owned, but it's an entity where they get to make the decisions. It's not a public decision. Sure. It's
not democratic.
Correct. And they have
alphabet. We're coming for you.
They have record and history of what kinds of content and what kinds of channels are making more money than the other ones. And in fact, the little teeny channels are not making them virtually any money. They're probably not even monetized. So there has to be a very healthy history of search and watch time from an individual before it goes, oh, they're actually part of this community. I think they might like this, and they might like this, and they might like this. And it gets much more efficient and better at being able to put the right sorts of channels and content in front of you. It brings up a good point. Could YouTube do a better job of trying to push the little guy out there to other little guys to be able to have some success? Yeah, they probably can. I don't know that the algorithm and the executive staff that make those decisions have made it, have figured out the way and the priority to be able to do that, because that's the case in everything. I mean, I think about, when I search specific things, it's always the big guys at the top, and then it gets much more irrelevant until I have done a lot more searches on that subject. Ethan, for instance, has done a lot more searching on reptiles and amphibians, and just now, he's getting the suggestions for the teeny little guy, and he watches them. He'll watch the 11,000 subscriber or the 5,000 subscriber channel because the content is
which
awesome.
Is considered small in her world, I'm just saying.
Yes.
All guys, you rock, all y'all.
To that point, you need to know, so it's about money making, but there is something to waiting, right? So we have a 950,000 subscriber channel right now. It still is content is king, but I put out a crap video Saturday morning. our good videos will be in the 40 to 70,000 view range at the end of the day. If I can't hit 10,000, I have a hard, that video may never make it to 40,000 in its lifetime. And it's from the same number of subscriber channels. I mean, like, so this one did 15 million, this one did 2 million. I can't get to 10,000 with this one video, and it's the same number of subscribers. So it's really about like the value of the content. Did the people who did get it suggested click on it and watch it? Did they watch it? Hey, if they do and there's a consistency to it, guess what? It's going to get it. I don't care who you are. It'll get pushed more, and you'll eventually start to grow. And so that's why I just say it's a grind. It's a grind to get to 1,000. It's a grind to get to 10,000. Every time you make certain milestones, I think there's a little bit more weighting in the algorithm that says, I'll give you a little momentum now. I'm going to push that out. Have you noticed the difference?
I definitely noticed the bump at 1,000. Yeah.
Yes. So there is something to subscribers, but it's just so little. I mean, really, it's just a small part of the weight in the algorithm. It's really about, and again, I can't get to 10,000, but I just got 15 million just from a video. Just if they watch it, it will get pushed. If they don't watch it, it's going to just get suppressed.
How big is the part that watch time plays? Like the percentage of the video that's being watched?
It's a question that is being debated by lots of the people. So watch time is clearly one of the most important factors. But there are people that, I mean, of all the seminars I've gone to, who will argue and say it's total watch time. So if you have a 30-minute video, there's some arguments that's why ASMR videos do so well, is that they're 4 and 5 and 6 hour videos, and they're just playing and no one's clicking away because they've fallen asleep, and it's just, as long as it doesn't go black, that watch time is just crazy huge. There's the argument, is it percentage of the total? So 3 minute and 18 second video, did they watch 3 minutes and 11 seconds of it, versus it's a 21-minute video and somebody watched six minutes of it. So they got a lot more watch time. YouTube got more watch time out of this one, but it's the percentage, the value isn't quite as good. And I don't know if it's similar weighting or one is a bit more than the other. That's a debate that goes on always. They're both very important.
Right. One of the reasons why I even got to the 1,000 is the collab with Ethan. Check the video, link in the thing.
Hi.
Somewhere there. Larger channels are really hard to reach if you don't have a personal connection. Larger channels are really hard to reach for collabs. But I'm guessing they're being bombarded with requests is one part, and then they are being busy in their own production schedule and have their own ideas of what they want to do, and maybe they don't feel like your channel fits to them. Is there an equal or a comparable amount of value in collaborations with equal size channels, or even smaller ones?
I think it kind of depends on who you talk to, what their opinion on this is. I can tell you my opinion. I love collaborations because if there is some relevancy, sharing potential audiences is a really good thing. And if they like what you did together, then you stand a better chance that they're going to want to continue to watch your stuff because they were just introduced to something new and they liked it. I have definitely run into the people who were smaller, bigger, same size, and they didn't have time, and there was very, very little value to them to try and collaborate. I've run into some very large channels who were happy to collaborate and super awesome to work with, because I think those people who are really committed to that YouTube grind, content is just always a challenge. What can I come up with that is going to be interesting, high entertainment value? And when somebody comes to me, I don't care if they're smaller or if they're larger or same size or wherever that is, and they say, we have a kind of a cool idea and we think it would work really well with your channel, and they pitch it to me, if it's something that's going to allow both their channel and my channel to get more content that could be really entertaining, why would I say no? I have to come up with that whether somebody's collabing with me or not. So, I mean, all the better, to be able to put the good karma in the world, go, yeah, let's do this together. And even if we got 10 new subscribers from it, and that was it, we got 10 new subscribers from it, and we had to put the content together anyway. Happy to help.
Yeah.
And what goes around comes around. For those channels who've been bigger and helped us grow, we're sure grateful, and the least we can do is pay it forward. So
Google Trends, Google Analytics, how much do you use them? How much do you suggest people using them?
okay, so that's that sort of do as I say, not as I do thing. If you're a smart YouTuber and you're a creative YouTuber, it sure helps to pay attention to Google Trends and the way the algorithm suggests. So when you go into the search, it's a search engine. It's the second largest search engine in the world, only to Google. YouTube is. So you go into Google and type in a search, or you go into YouTube and you type in a search. As soon as you start typing in words, it automatically starts to suggest phrases. Those phrases are suggested based on what it knows. There's a volume of people typing in already, because those are the higher level searches. That's great information. When you go to Google Trends and you see what people are searching on, and in the volumes they're searching on recently over a period of time, and how it compares to similar kinds of searches or similar subjects. It is so good at helping to better narrow your focus and say, well, I was thinking about this, but if I were just to put this tweak on it, it probably could have a slightly better result because there are more searches using these keywords. So if you think of keywords as real estate and there's value to them, understanding both subject matter and keywords and being able to come up with ideal headlines, ideal descriptions, and just ideas for content, you're way ahead of the game, because you've got a better chance that it's going to be suggested at a higher rate because there's higher searches. I don't do it enough. I don't use Google Trends and that kind of search research enough. I should use it more. It is helpful. You can have success more quickly, but it's also part of the challenge.
Right.
So.
All right, here he is, the man, the myth, the legend.
Were you guys talking about me?
No, we would never.
And this is the neighbor.
That's what I thought.
Oh boy,
Neighbor!
still in my jammies.
The whole family.
This is my daughter.
Hey.
Ah.
Thank you for your insight, not just today and here, for everybody. This woman is amazing.
Oh, you're so nice.
She's coached my channel a lot, our channel a lot, got us to where we are, and hopefully beyond. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Pedal hard.
Pedal hard.
Pedal hard.
Nice. Awesome.